This episode is brought to you by The Legend of the Cacique Princess by Michael Dorta. Follow Caraya, a Taíno warrior transported to modern-day Boriquén, as she battles to protect her ancestral home from new threats. Perfect for readers young and old, it's a journey of courage, love, and rediscovery. Available on Amazon in English y en español. Pick up your copy today and reconnect with the rich legacy of our Taíno people. Mabrica! Welcome to a special episode of Taíno Culture. I'm Priscilla Colon, co-founder creative here at Casarito, where our mission is to promote the Taíno language and culture. Last year, as I was listening to an amazing song by Vicente Garcia called Camino al Sol, or Path to the Sun, I became interested in researching a little bit more about our Taíno semi, or spiritual representation, called Opiyelguobiran. This song led me to research something called Canine psychopomps. Now you must be thinking, what the heck did she just say? Let me explain what I mean. Now the word psychopomp comes from the Greek psychopompos, and this literally means guide of souls. According to Wikipedia, these guides of souls can be creatures, spirits, angels, demons, or deities that escort newly deceased souls from Earth to the afterlife. And I found that canine psychopomps, that is, dog guides, are in cultures throughout the world. So if you've watched movies like The Mummy Returns, Coco, or even Harry Potter, you've been introduced to these canine psychopomps, or dog guides. So today we're going to look at how these guide dogs appear in all of these cultures, including Taíno culture. One of these famous guide dogs, or canine psychopomp, is Anubis, who comes to us from the Egyptian culture. He appears as a person with a black dog's head and a man's body. And he is the one who embalms the bodies of the dead. He prepares them for their journey. He also protects the graves of the dead and guides souls to Duat, the Egyptian underworld. In some stories, Anubis himself is also the lord of the underworld. And in other stories, he was created by Ra, the sun god, representation of life. But during my research, I discovered that Anubis was not the only dog guide in the Egyptian culture. Anubis had a brother. Wepwawet is Anubis's brother. He is depicted as a person with a gray or white dog's head on a man's body. Wepwawet means opener of the ways, and he is sometimes called Ra, the sun god himself, because he opens the sky in the morning. So isn't that cool? Anubis with the black dog's head is associated with the underworld, the nighttime, and Wepwawet with the gray or white dog's head is associated with the daylight. Now, let's take a look at another culture. In the Hindu tradition, there is an ancient collection of Sanskrit hymns called the Rig Veda, and these come from 2000 to 1001 BCE. There are two dogs mentioned in this Rig Veda. They are Shyama, which means darkness or dusk, and Sabala, which means spotted or dawn. These two dogs guard Patala, the underworld, and the road to Patala. They also protect souls on their journey. Wait a second. Two guide dogs in the Hindu underworld, just like in Egyptian mythology? And these two are literally named Dusk and Dawn? I don't think there is a coincidence here. Now, one of the most popular canine psychopomps or guide dogs is Cerberus, that comes from the Greek mythology. You probably know Cerberus as the monstrous three-headed dog, the guard of Hades, the underworld, the hellhound. But some of the earliest artistic renderings, which come to us from 590 to 580 BCE, almost always show Cerberus with 2 heads, not 3. And in the stories, Cerberus is known to guide the souls of the dead to Hades. He allows the souls to cross the river Styx into the underworld. Now, in the Greek tradition, we don't have that association with dawn and dusk as clearly as we do with the Egyptian and the Hindu tradition. But the fact that Cerberus has 2 heads is very similar. I don't think is a coincidence. So you may be thinking, well, that's great. That appears in Africa, in Asia, and parts of Europe. That has nothing to do with indigenous America. You want to bet? The Aztec origin stories speak of a soul guide called Xolotl, and he is pictured with a dog's head on a man's body. Xolotl is considered the evening star or dark side of Venus. He is also associated with fire because he followed the sun from the sky to Mictlan, the underworld. The first level of Mictlan was actually called Itzcuitlan, the place of dogs. And it is said that yellow dogs carried the souls across the river to the underworld. Xolotl's twin brother is none other than Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. He is associated with life, light, the sun. He is Venus, the morning star, which we see right before dawn. Take a look at this mural by Diego Rivera, the famous Mexican artist, and you'll notice Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, up at the top, and down below is a little dog. Have you seen this dog before? I'm sure you have. If you watch Disney Pixar's Coco, you'll have noticed that Miguel, the protagonist or main character, is followed by Dante, a street dog. Dante is based on a Mexican breed of dogs known as Cholo Itzcuintle. It literally means cholo dog in Nahuatl. This breed is at least 5,000 years old. These cholo dogs are the representation of Xolotl, the lord of the underworld. So let's talk a little bit about the canine psychopomps or guide dogs of Taíno culture. In an account of the antiquities of the Indians, Ramon Panay writes, of another semi, which was called Opiyelguobiran, this semi, Opiyelguobirán, they say has 4 legs, like those of a dog, and is made of wood. Many times at night, it would leave the house and go into the forest. They would go look for it there, and after bringing it back home, they would tie it with ropes, but it would return to the forest. And when the Christians arrived at the said island of Hispaniola, they say it escaped and went to a lagoon. They followed its tracks to that place, but they never saw it again, nor did they know anything more about it. This spirit guide happens to look like a dog. Instead of the face of a dog, it has the legs of a dog. And notice how he runs away to a lagoon, a body of water, similar to the river Styx in Greek mythology, and similar to that first level of Mictlan, where the dogs help the souls cross the river. So, is this truly a dog guide associated with the Taíno underworld? Let's take a look at what I found out. In the digital magazine of Cuban and Caribbean archaeology, authors Raxo Fernández Ortega and Juan Cusa Huart established the meaning of Opiyelguobiran. That first part of the name, Opi, comes from the word Opia, which is the spirit of the dead. Yel has been traditionally thought of to mean son of. The authors propose that there may be a second meaning to that second part, Yel. It might mean crier, someone who cries a lot. But I really like that first translation of son of. That third part in the name, Guo, they believe it is actually coming from the word gua, which means our or ours. And that last part, Biran, where does that come from? Well, in the Arawak language, there's a word that is ibiran, and that means to outwit or to play. put it all together, Opiyelguobiran could mean our mischievous, playful, or jokester, son of the spirit of the dead. Right in the name of this spirit guide, you see that association with the underworld. It is interesting that in this case, his name also implies that he's a little mischievous, a jokester. Very similar to how Dante was depicted in the movie Coco. At this point, we've established that in Taíno spiritual traditions, there was at least one guide dog. But were there two? Let's go back to an account of the antiquities of the Indians, where Ramon Panet writes, they think there is a place where the dead go that is called Guayaba, and it's found on one side of the island called Soraya. The first who was in Guayaba, they say, was one who was named Maketaurie Guayaba, who was the lord of said Guayaba, house and dwelling of the dead. Now, when I first read this account, I immediately thought of Lord of Guayaba as a chief or cacique who died and now reigns over this place. José Juan Arrom, one of the most famous editors of an account of the antiquities of the Indians, proposed some translations of the name Maketáurie Guayaba, ma or mat meaning no or not, and que coming from the word coque, which means to live in the Arawak language. Guayaba is the original Taíno name for the fruit you may know now as guava, and guayaba or guava is the sweet fruit that was preferred by the spirits, the Opiya, the spirit of the dead. But José Juan Arrom did not provide a translation for that middle part, taurie. So the researchers of Cuba Arqueológica decided that they wanted to take a closer look at that name. The researchers split up the word into three parts, Maquet, Aurie, and Guayaba, of course. They found that Maquet could actually be related to the words Makutun or Makoto, which in the Arawak language means fasting or abstaining from. They found that the word Aurie could mean dog. When they compared 6 of our Arawak sister languages, we find that a similar word means dog. So according to these researchers, Maketáurie Guayaba means dog who fasts or abstains from guava. So it makes total sense that Maketaurie Guayaba, the lord of the underworld, would not be eating the sweet fruit that is reserved for the Opiya or spirits. Now, what does this show? This shows that there was a second dog also associated with the spirit world. Just like Anubis and Wepwawet from Egyptian culture, Shyama and Sabala from Hindu culture, Xolotl and Quetzalcoatl from the Aztec culture, we in the Taíno culture also have 2 dog spirits, canine psychopomps, and these are Opiyelguobiran and Maketaurie Guayaba. Our people understood the cycle of life and death, and these 2 dog spirits represent day and night, death and rebirth. And through these stories, we know that we are connected to cultures from all around the world, cultures that our Taíno ancestors would have never been in contact with, but that share similar origin stories. Now, of course, as we went through all these amazing cultural stories, we learned some Taíno words along the way. Why don't we review them one more time? Semi, physical representation of a nature spirit, ancestral spirit, or the spirit itself. Guayaba or Guabai, Taíno underworld, house and dwelling of the dead. Opiya, spirit of the dead. Opiyelguobiran, Taíno guide dog to the underworld, whose name may mean our mischievous, playful, or jokester, son of the spirit of the dead. Maketaurie Guayaba, Taíno lord of the underworld, whose name may mean dog who fasts or abstains from guava. Thank you as always for joining me on this journey to rediscover our ancestral roots, to reconnect to our origin stories. I am so excited about doing all this research and sharing it with you. I think it's so important to learn about where we come from and discover along the way that we are all connected. And isn't that the most beautiful message? In the meantime, tay karaja guaitiao nagu. Hahom, thank you to our sponsor, The Legend of the Cacique Princess by Michael Dorta. Pick up your copy today and reconnect with the rich legacy of our Taíno people.